have with me Dr. Adrian Haack. He is the director of the India office of the Adenauer Stiftung. Dr. Haack, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
You made an interesting point at the Indo-Pacific seminar that the Indo-Pacific as a region, as a maritime region, is far more prone to, has a higher element of risk in terms of security compared to, say, other waterways. How is that, what kind of an argument is that? I mean, do you feel that the dangers here are far more than perhaps places like where in Europe where you have a war raging?
Yeah, that's why I said, first of all, it sounds illogical because we have a war going on in Europe, so you might assume that the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea is way more riskier. But if you look closer, on both sea areas, you only have one aggressor, which is mainly Russia. And this aggressor has no interest in an escalation. Because, as I pointed out, it's first of all, these two seas are his most important trade routes.
True.
Both seas are controlled, so the entrance of both seas is controlled by NATO countries. And in total, they have just less units on both seas than the NATO countries. So actually, there's no reason for Russia to escalate the situation there. So on the other hand, in the Indo-Pacific, the political situation is much more fragmented. You can draw different scenarios how other countries will react on an aggression. And of course, you have bigger dimensions. So it is for every country very hard to keep an eye on entire trade routes. And at the same time, military response time is also longer. Yeah?
Do you see among the many countries in the Indo-Pacific any one stabilizing force or perhaps a couple of countries that can act as a stabilizing element in this region?
I mean, India does and India should. So actually, I see India as the most important sea power in the Indian Ocean. And that means on the one hand that the Indian Navy itself is a stabilizing factor. But also the Indian Navy is, of course, a factor which is hosting other units from other navies here. So actually that makes it for other navies easier to operate on the Indian Ocean. That there is let's say that there are certain services like harbor, like rescue potential, but also like share of information. Mm-hmm. So for the Indian Ocean, it's I would say in particular India, and for in total, of course, when we look at the other side of the Indo-Pacific, the US is of course playing an important role.
Mm-hmm. But do you see this India as the only country as a stabilizing force? You mentioned the US also, but among the littoral states, do you see any others?
I mean, I would say each navy which is operating here and is not a potential aggressor is a stabilizing force. It might be Bangladesh, it might be Germany, it might be Netherlands, it might be Australia. The key to maintain stability is, from my perspective, first of all, that the potential aggressor is aware that this sea area is observed very well, and that within the sea area there's the potential to react on aggression.
Mm-hmm. What about the role of China here? That is the aggressor?
I mean, sure. I mean, China, Iran are, from my perspective, the two biggest risks.
And China, would you say, is its profile in the Indian Ocean at least is growing?
I mean, Belt and Road has an economic dimension, but it's an open secret there's a military dimension as well. And China is implementing harbor and navy capacities far beyond its own coasts. And from my perspective, this is a potential risk. Okay. Because actually there is no defensive need to increase the Navy forces the way they did.
You think with China as the aggressor, it'll be easier to draw a number of countries together in the region to act as a stabilizing element? Do you see it happening?
I'm a bit pessimistic because at the same time we see that Belt and Road is in a way very effective. Because it is not only that China is building infrastructure in other countries, it also has a very huge political dimension. Because with the money and the infrastructure, there's always a form of political loyalty bonded to it. Let's put it that way. So Quad is the beginning. AUKUS is, of course, an important factor. But in general, when we draw a lesson from what we've seen on the war in Ukraine, the key is that any aggressor should estimate the situation for himself in a way that escalating or showing or implementing aggression is not for his own benefit. And this was exactly the mistake we did in case of Russia after 2014. So from 2014 to 2021, Moscow only experienced open doors, diplomacy, offers to talk, and they could escalate more and more and more. And they were of the opinion, in February 22, in case we attack, there will only be talking but no actions. Luckily, it was different then. The reaction was much stronger. But I think, therefore, this war in Ukraine is crucial for the situation in Taiwan. Because if Beijing learns the lesson that you can take over other country by force, they feel triggered by that. If they, on the other hand, see that it ends for a big disaster for the Russians, they might rethink their plans.
But do you see China escalating?
Not yet, but I mean, they're building the potential to do so. And it is. I don't say we should prepare for that day or to wish. We should prepare, but at the same time, we should put all effort that it's not going to happen. So because in case of China, there's another big difference to regarding Russia. In China, it's only the regime. So if you look at Taiwan, it's the same Chinese culture, the same people. But they are peaceful. They are doing very well. But they are no threat to anyone. And on the other hand, in case of Russia, the regime change would not matter. Like Russia would stay Russia, and you would still have to deal with it. So therefore, it is if there's no regime change in China, and it doesn't look like there's some happening, the goal should be to show China a way of coexistence.
Last question about drones, the use of drones in this region. Do you see the risk of non-state actors using drones?
Sure. I mean, if you look at the maritime drones used by Ukraine, they are self-produced. They approximately cost $200,000 to $250,000, and they are less than 6 meters long. I mean, everyone who's a hobby sailor knows how easy they are. This size of a ship is to store, to hide, to transport, and then to use. So along coastlines, this is, from my perspective, a big threat for hybrid warfare, but also for non-state actors. I mean, imagine just a dozen of these drones in Yemen, along the coast of Gulf of Aden. So it is a huge threat, because there is, of course, also development of underwater drones.
Absolutely.
But they are technically, let's say highly sophisticated, and only state actors will be able to implement them. I mean, similar kind of these drones that we saw on the Black Sea might appear somewhere else.
And do you see a proliferation of such drone technologies in this region?
I mean, the drone technology is the technical, let's say this new technical level of this warfare in Ukraine, maybe in the air and or in water, and I think we will see in the next few years that all state actors will arm themselves with several kind of drones.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we will see that non-state actors will implement this technique as well.
Dr. Haack, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.